Welcome to our deep dive into one of the most infamous figures in history, Adolf Hitler, a man whose name is synonymous with destruction, ideology, and tragedy. His actions reshaped the world, leaving a legacy of horror, division, and lessons we must never forget. In this video, we'll explore Hitler's life, from his humble beginnings to his rise as the leader of Nazi Germany, and ultimately his catastrophic downfall. Who was the man behind the mustache? What drove him to unleash chaos on a global scale? Let's uncover the story of Adolf Hitler. To understand Hitler, we need to go back to the beginning, his childhood in Austria, his struggles as a young man, and the events that shaped his radical beliefs. This is not just a story of one man, but a cautionary tale about power, propaganda, and the consequences of unchecked ambition. So let's start at the very beginning. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20th, 1889, in Braunau am Inn, a small town in Austria near the German border. He was the fourth of 6 children born to Alois Hitler, a strict customs official, and Clara, his devoted mother. Alois was a domineering figure, often clashing with young Adolf, who was a sensitive and rebellious child. Clara, on the other hand, was nurturing, and Adolf remained close to her throughout his life. Hitler's early years were marked by mediocrity. He was an average student, often clashing with teachers and showing little interest in formal education. His passion lay in art and history, but his dreams of becoming an artist were thwarted when he was rejected twice by the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. These rejections deeply affected him, feeling a sense of resentment and failure. By his late teens, Hitler moved to Vienna, where he lived in poverty, scraping by as a struggling artist, painting postcards and advertisements. Vienna in the early 1900s was a melting pot of ideas, but also a hotbed of anti-Semitism and nationalist fervor. It was here that Hitler began to absorb the toxic ideologies that would later define his life. He read extremist pamphlets, listened to nationalist speakers, and developed a deep-seated hatred for Jews, whom he blamed for society's problems. In 1913, at age 24, Hitler moved to Munich, Germany, seeking a fresh start. He was still aimless, but the outbreak of World War I in 1914 gave him purpose. Hitler enlisted in the German army, serving as a dispatch runner on the Western Front. He found camaraderie and purpose in the war, earning 2 Iron Crosses for bravery. However, Germany's defeat in 1918 left him devastated, and like many others, he blamed politicians, Jews, and communists for the loss. After World War I, Germany was in chaos. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh penalties, crippling the economy and fostering resentment among Germans. Hitler, now back in Munich, joined the German Workers' Party in 1919, a small nationalist group. His charisma and fiery speeches quickly made him a standout. He transformed the group into the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the Nazi Party. Hitler's oratory skills were unmatched. He tapped into the anger and humiliation of the German people, promising to restore national pride and reverse the Treaty of Versailles. His message of scapegoating Jews, communists, and others resonated with a desperate population. By 1921, he was the leader of the Nazi Party, using propaganda, symbols like the swastika, and a paramilitary group called the SA to spread his influence. In 1923, Hitler attempted to seize power in the Beer Hall Putsch, a failed coup in Munich. He was arrested, tried for treason, and sentenced to 5 years in prison, though he served only 9 months. While in Landsberg prison, he wrote Mein Kampf, a manifesto outlining his ideology, anti-Semitism, and vision for a greater Germany. The book would later become a cornerstone of Nazi propaganda. The late 1920s were quieter for Hitler, but the Great Depression in 1929 gave him a new opportunity. Germany's economy collapsed and unemployment soared. The Nazis gained seats in the Reichstag, Germany's parliament, as voters turned to extremist solutions. By 1932, the Nazi Party was the largest in the Reichstag, and in January 1933, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany by President Paul von Hindenburg, who underestimated him as a controllable figure. By 1944, Germany was crumbling. Allied bombings devastated cities, and the Soviet army advanced from the east. Hitler, increasingly paranoid and detached, retreated to his bunker in Berlin. He refused to surrender, ordering unrealistic counterattacks and blaming his generals for failures. On July 20th, 1944, a group of German officers attempted to assassinate him in the failed Operation Valkyrie, but Hitler survived. In April 1945, with Soviet forces closing in on Berlin, Hitler's world collapsed. On April 30th, 1945, at age 56, he married his longtime partner Eva Braun in the Führer bunker. Hours later, they died by suicide. Hitler by gunshot, Braun by cyanide. Their bodies were burned to avoid capture. A week later, on May 7, 1945, Germany surrendered unconditionally, ending the war in Europe. The aftermath of Hitler's reign was staggering. World War II claimed over 70 million lives, left Europe in ruins, and exposed the horrors of the Holocaust. The Nuremberg trials held Nazi leaders accountable, revealing the extent of their crimes. Hitler's ideology of hate had led to unimaginable suffering, but his defeat also marked a turning point for human rights and international law. Today, Hitler's story is a warning. His ability to manipulate, propagandize, and exploit division shows the dangers of unchecked power and intolerance. Memorials like Yad Vashem and Auschwitz stand as reminders of the lives lost and the importance of preventing such atrocities. The world continues to grapple with the lessons of his era, striving to build a future rooted in unity and compassion. Adolf Hitler's life was a dark chapter in human history, but it's a chapter we must study to understand the consequences of hatred and extremism. His rise and fall remind us of the power of ideas, both destructive and hopeful. As we move forward, let's commit to learning from the past, standing against division, and building a world where such horrors never happen again. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the life of Adolf Hitler. If you found this video insightful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others. Let us know in the comments what other historical figures you'd like us to cover. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and let's keep history's lessons alive.